What's going on, everybody? It's your old pal CHH. So the other day I was thinking about, wanting to reorganize my movies and things like that, and it got me thinking. One of the biggest things I think with being physical media collectors is you kind of get a little bit of OCD. You're either born with it or you kind of get a little bit of it. That may happen in the way you store your movies. That may be the way you categorize your movies in your collection, the way you kind of just want them to look. But here's one of the biggest pains in our asses. Horror movie franchise, or really just movie franchises, unfortunately this happens more with horror movies than anything, that have different movies in different labels. And it's a pretty frequent thing that happens. So I want to go through a list of some of my favorite movies that have different entries in different labels. And the last example I have is the most ridiculous out of all of them. This is a big franchise where all first 4 movies are on different frickin' labels. So let's get started. Sometimes it's not too bad, and I want to show you an example right here of one that's not that bad. First up we got is Basket Case. Basket Case is a great, low-budget, nasty creature feature. This came out from Arrow Video. This is a solid release. This is when they had weird slipcovers with the little hole on the side. I don't know why. But anyway, that's Basket Case. But then Part 2 and Part 3, you want to get those? That's fine, you can get those. But you got to get them from Synapse Films. And they put these out. So, there you go. How are you going to categorize this? This is another thing I wanted to do this video about, because I want to know, what do you do? Do you put your movies in alphabetical order and then, boom, you don't have to worry about that? Or do you like to categorize Arrow Video titles and Scream Factory titles? That's kind of how I do it, and I thought it was kind of weird, but it seems like a lot of people do that as well. But what do you do in this situation? Do you just have to suck it up? If you want to watch a Basket Case, have a Basket Case marathon, do you have to just go to one section, grab the movie there, and go get 2 and 3 from another spot? I don't know. First world problems for sure, but okay, not too bad. You've got one movie on Arrow and another movie on Synapse, or the other 2 on Synapse. Let's see another example. Okay, let's talk about the Maniac Cop Trilogy. Okay, let's get the first movie out off the shelf. Okay, this is from Synapse Films, which, when are you guys going to do a nice release of this, Synapse? You talking about all this other stuff y'all are working on, the Convent. What about Maniac Cop on 4K? Nonetheless, they put this out on Blu-ray. Okay, awesome. Well, let's go get Maniac Cop 2 and 3. Oh, what's that? Well, these came out on Blue Underground. Both of them. Not only that, there were Blu-ray releases, and then these are the 4K releases of Maniac Cops 2 and 3. They look incredible, by the way. These are 2 incredibly good-looking 4Ks. But, again, here's another example of a Part 1 that's on one label, and then a Part 2 and 3 that's on another label. Which Maniac Cop was moderately successful on VHS, and then 2 and 3 did good on VHS. Were they under different companies? I don't know. But then again, there's another example. Synapse only got the first one for this one, and Blue Underground sucked up 2 and 3 right after that. Very interesting. Okay, now here's a different example of an extreme. And if you're a horror fan, like this is what you have to do. Okay, let's talk about my all-time favorite director. Who is my all-time favorite director? Well, if you know good old CHH, you know my favorite director is George A. Romero. What's one of my favorite horror films? Night of the Living Dead. Okay, if you want to get a really nice, or get the nice release of this, in America, you'll get the Criterion release. This is the 4K release. They also have a Blu-ray 4K scan release, but I really recommend the 4K release. I love it. Okay, awesome. Well, Christian, let's get Dawn of the Dead. Well, it's not going to be that easy. Rumor has it that there's a single rights owner for Dawn of the Dead, and he wants a lot of money to license the film in America. Now, he doesn't own it for overseas, so other companies can put it out. One of the examples you can get is there is a Second Sight version. I believe it's Second Sight Films that did Dawn of the Dead, and they did a nice big box set that came out that's already out of print, and then a more slimmer version that might still be available, but even that might be out of print at this point. Or you can go to Germany and get other releases like this. This is the XT Video Blu-ray lenticular steelbook. Regardless, this is the point I'm getting at. If you're in America and you want Dawn of the Dead, not only do you have to get it from overseas, you got to pay. Okay? But if you want Day of the Dead, okay, you can get the Blu-ray from Scream Factory. They put out Day of the Dead. Maybe talking about this randomly, we'll get that 4K in the works. If anything deserves a 4K, it's Day of the Dead. But here's an example of, it's kind of an extreme example, but as you can see, Dawn of the Dead, you have to get it overseas. There's no license for it in America. All right, let's talk about old Sam Raimi. Okay, Evil Dead 1 and 2. Okay, let's say you want to get those on 4K. You could be a jackass like me and get this thing, which comes with the TV show, which I don't watch that often. But this has Evil Dead 1 and 2. Okay, so you want to get Evil Dead on 4K and Evil Dead 2 in 4K and 3, 1, 2, and 3. The Bruce Campbell movies, that's awesome. Get 1 and 2 right here, or you can get them individually. But, oh, what's that? Army of Darkness wasn't in that. Okay, so where do we go for Army of Darkness? Okay, we go to Scream Factory. Now, here's the interesting thing. I think the reason this is different, I understand, and this may be the case for a lot of these, but Army of Darkness went to Universal. They picked up the rights for the Part 3 for Evil Dead. So that's why Army of Darkness is separate. Okay, fair enough. What's next? Oh, Creepshow. Who doesn't love Creepshow? Okay, so let's say you want Creepshow 1, 2, and for some reason 3. Okay, where do you get Part 1 from? Okay, let's go to Scream Factory. That's who has that. So I still love this release. This is the Blu-ray release, which is a nice hard shell. Very nice release. Comes with a comic book, a lot of great special features. They can get this on 4K as well from Scream Factory. That's really cool. Okay, so Scream Factory's Part 1, but where are we going for Part 2? Oh, look at this. That's weird. Arrow Video picked up the rights for Part 2. Again, this is probably a different company that released Creepshow 2 back in the day. I wouldn't be surprised. And that's why it's more likely that, you know, some of these sequels get different home video boutique label releases. Okay, so you got that. Now, if you want Creepshow 3, Scream Factory did a limited run of those. But I think it's still available. But I know somebody's saying it right now. The real Creepshow 3, for all intents and purposes, is Tales from the Dark Side of the Movie, my all-time favorite horror anthology film, which just got a great 4K release from Scream Factory. All right, guys, so there's an example of that. All right, so here's our... oh, no, never mind. We got 2 more examples. How about my favorite movie, Return of the Living Dead? Let's say you want to get Return of the Living Dead 1, 2, and 3 on Blu-ray. Okay, awesome. Let's see. Okay, so Return of the Living Dead 1, you have to get the 4K version, but let's say you don't have a 4K and you'd rather just get paid more money to get this Blu-ray. Okay, cool. Get Part 1 from Scream Factory. Okay, we're doing good. Return of the Living Dead 2, you can get that from Scream Factory. Uh-oh. Part 3. What happened with Part 3? That came out to Vestron Video. Now, this one I understand. Return of the Living Dead's not necessarily a unique circumstance, but at least unique to my point of view. So Tom Fox was an indie kind of producer. What I mean by indie producers, this guy was like a banker who just decided he wanted to make movies. So he got the money up for this and got the deal for this movie to come out from HBO Home Video or something, and Hemdale or whatever. Okay, that's Part 1. Then the rights to do a sequel, I guess, went out, so then he got another deal to do Part 2 that came out from Lorimar Home Video, and people are really wondering why that won't get a Blu-ray overseas. I don't know. And then there was another option for a Part 3 down the road for somebody else to pick it up, and then Lionsgate picked up Return of the Living Dead 3 in the 90s. So this is just an example of options running out and Tom Fox getting new deals for movies to come out. So, you know, that is what it is. I understand that. But as collectors, does this give you guys OCD problems? Does this infuriate you as collectors? Do you just wish you could get releases? Because God knows, you know, when we did get releases of Friday the 13th and Halloween, it was such a satisfying feeling because we know that they came out from different studios, both of franchises, and we got a box set with all of them together. And I think that's how we like it the most. That's what we like the most. But as you can see, as collectors, this is what we have to put up with. So here's our last example, guys. Now, this is the most ridiculous one yet. Let's talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, let's say you want to get the newest release for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Historically, ever since the 2000s, Texas Chainsaw Massacre has come out under Dark Sky Films. Not much has changed. Here is the new 4K UHD release, which I absolutely love. This is a fantastic release. It's a good-looking 4K. Okay, so that's awesome. Where are we getting Part 2 from? Can we go to Best Buy and get Part 2? No, because it's under a company called Vinegar Syndrome. This is where you get Part 2. Okay, so we're already off going to a different company for a sequel. Now, again, just like when we talked about Return of the Living Dead, this is a situation where the rights for this franchise is going all over the place. So after Part 1 comes out, a decade later, you know, it's a bid to see who's going to get a Part 2, and ends up under Canon, and there we go. And then this is licensed under Vinegar Syndrome. Amazing release. I love this release. If you're a fan of this film, they give you everything you'd want. There's actually a whole new disc worth of special features, so amazing. Okay, what are we getting for Part 3? Oh, Part 3, we have to go to Warner Archive, because guess who put out Part 3? New Line, which is under Warner. So if you want the Blu-ray for Part 3, that's where you got to get it. So far, we have everyone that's different. Let's say you want to get the Next Generation. Well, who put that out? Scream Factory. So, there you go. So for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the most extreme example, if you want to get these movies on Blu-ray or 4K, you have to get them from different companies. Not two are under the same umbrella. Wow. That's something else. So that's something as collectors we just got to put up with. Now, it's not something I'm necessarily upset about, because there are certain instances, obviously, where companies can't get the rights for it. You can't be mad at, you know, Dark Sky, or you can't be mad at Vinegar Syndrome for not being able to get Leatherface Part 3, obviously, because Warner's not licensing that out. And in situations where it's a Lionsgate title, like a Vestron title, like, I get that. But it does beg the question, does this affect how you file your movies? Because some people like to categorize their movies under labels because it's very aesthetic when you look at it. But then other times it makes me say maybe I should just go completely alphabetical order. That way I can, you know, not have to deal with getting different movies from different spots if I'm going to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. For instance, getting the movies together to do this video took me a little bit longer than it probably would have if I would have had my movies alphabetized alphabetically, despite genres or despite boutique labels. So that's just something that's interesting. I'm really making this video to show you examples of it, but really to see what you think about this. Is this something that you just control the controllable, so it's not worth getting annoyed at when you get different movies from the same franchise under different labels? Or do you kind of like the variety? Do you think, okay, let the best man win sort of thing? Like when you get the announcement that Vinegar Syndrome picks up Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 over Scream Factory, I for one was very excited. I know the price was probably going to be higher than what you would pay for Scream Factory, but I did think you would get more bang for your buck from them, and I think we did, quite frankly. I think we ended up coming out a lot better that Vinegar Syndrome put out Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 over Scream Factory. So I kind of have conflicting feelings on it. Sometimes it's very annoying to me, but other times I chalk it up to control the controllable, Christian. But anyway, guys, those are some examples of horror franchises with different entries from different boutique labels. Let me know your thoughts on this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the whole situation and that sort of thing. I appreciate you watching. Y'all have a great weekend. It's Saturday when I'm uploading this. Y'all take care. Love you guys. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.